We wake up to good news that former Black Stars player Chris Nachu is reported to have been pulled out alive after being buried under the rubble of a collapsed building in Turkey following the earthquake that shook that country and parts of Syria yesterday, early hours, local time. We thank God and we commiserate with the families of those who've lost their lives. Over 4,300 at the last count is just staggering. And you see some of those pictures of buildings looking like pancakes. I mean, it's just 9 stories to 1. And it's just, I wonder what's going through the minds of those just even living there and observing what's going on. It's just crazy. Our hearts go out to all the people who are affected by this tragedy. Still to come in today's show, we have conversations on health and safety, the petroleum upstream sector, and then we have Kusi for breakfast on the yellow couch. But before that, it's time for headlines, and my guests are seated. On my far left is lawyer and historian Yao Anoche Frimpong, Esquire, and lecturer and clinical psychologist Professor Daniel Bruce. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing? Well?
Oh, we are fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Prof, how are you? What's on your mind this morning? You deal with the minds of human beings in your world of psychology.
What's on my mind this morning is about the recent resurgence of fire outbreaks in Ghana.
Okay, fire outbreaks.
Fire outbreaks and its devastating effects. People seeing their properties toil for, just going into rumbles like that. And the delay in the fire service, firefighting team getting to the fire spots is also a problem. So I have something to suggest. And now, when the low-rise apartments, we are fighting so hard to extinguish fires, what about our new desire for the high-rise apartments in the likes of Mirage, Job 600, the World Trade Center, the SU, the Scripture Union building, and the rest? When there's fire top there, how do we fight it? Because water easily falls to the force of gravity. So we want to find a new way of fighting fires when it happens to the high-rise apartments, which is becoming a common architectural desire for Ghanaians now. So based upon that, if you won't mind, I would like to go straight forward by suggesting that just as we should introduce fire tax.
A fire tax?
Yes. Which will be like the gate fund. And when we have sufficient of it, we use it to buy a helicopter to fight the fires at the high-rise apartments. So that the water, when it is pumped from the hose, it will not suffer from the force of gravity and will not reach there. So when we have the fire tax, I think we can reach through the fire service by getting helicopters which they will use to reach out quickly to those high-rise apartments and even the lower ones and extinguish the fire within seconds, so that we prevent massive loss of people's properties and wealth.
So the idea is that the helicopters will use gravity to help fight the fire, because they will be on top
when
of
they
the
are
buildings.
top and they splash,
dropping.
The force of gravity will actually allow the water to sink and quench.
Instead of the fireman being down and then
Now when you push,
it will come
the
back.
force of gravity will drop it down.
Okay.
And you see only the firefighters bathing themselves.
Fire tax.
Fire tax.
Tax.
Too much tax.
But this is very important.
Brilliant idea, but the government should buy it rather.
No, we should urge the government to do this.
They should buy
We
the
can take
helicopters.
away the COVID fund and put fire tax
Very
over
good.
there.
Okay. So take out one tax, bring another one.
Yeah, bring on now.
Or give it a new name. COVID tax now becomes fire tax.
Yes. So we can buy the helicopters and fight the fires quickly.
You need to go to Parliament and make this.
Oh, they are hearing me.
Yeah, they are going back to the House today.
And so this morning, I hope they've heard me. And this is the first time I'm saying it.
Fire tax.
Yeah, fire tax.
Okay.
Very important.
For helicopters.
Yes. So like Get Fund, we'll get much money to buy helicopters and other firefighting tools, the modern ones. So I suggest that the COVID tax must be knocked down and we replace with fire tax.
Tax go, tax come.
Yes.
All right. What do you think? Fire tax. Take away the COVID tax, says Professor Bruce, and bring in a fire tax so that the money accumulated can be used to buy helicopters to fight on high-rise buildings.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you. 055 556 1034 is the WhatsApp number. Remember, you are responsible for your thoughts. He's also responsible for his thoughts, and his thoughts are mostly historical ones. And his name is Yao Anachi Frimpong, Esquire. What's on your mind today?
Well, immediately, I would have to thank God for the life of the young man, Christian Atsu, and then also to commend Ghanaians. In fact, outside politics, Ghanaians are very united people. Yesterday, everywhere, from class 1 to the highest level, everybody came to know this young man. And I remember early this morning, my son woke up to show me from social media that this man had been pulled up of the rubble. Yesterday, when we were going home, and I mentioned to my wife told me that he will be pulled out of the rubble alive. And I said, are you there? He said, that is what God will do. So today, my wife, Gifty, God has actually honored your words. But Ghanaians should continue to pray for the people of Turkey. I believe several families are lost, and we should pray for them. And this morning, what I'm going to say is to draw the attention of the whole nation to a man who has otherwise been forgotten by the British people. And not only the British, that is all that whites will do to blacks, whatever we do for them. The man I have in mind is Major Seth Anthony, the first black African ever to have been commissioned to the British Army. Now, this man was born in 1915 at a village called Adiafenu. Is it the correct pronunciation? Near Keta.
Adafenu.
Adafenu, okay.
Adafenu. Yes.
Okay, near Keta.
Near Denu.
Near Denu, rather.
Adafenu.
In the Volta region. He started the Bremen School over there. And when he got to what today we say BECE, in those days, Standard 7 or Middle School Living Certificate, it is said that he not just had a distinction, but he toppled in the Eastern Province of the Gold Coast. The Eastern Province today would have been Greater Accra, Eastern Region, and Volta Region. So this young man toppled what today would have been called the BECE. He decided to enter. In those days, Achimota School had a secondary branch and then teacher training branch. He wanted to be a teacher. But at the age of 15, he was told he was too young to start the teacher training program. And so he waited for 1 year, and that didn't change his mind. He went back. He so much excelled that the Achimota School Board felt he had to be encouraged to do the secondary part in order to become a graduate. He did it and had another distinction, and immediately he started an undergraduate program at Cambridge, having had some exemptions because of his performance. And as soon as he started the undergraduate program, Achimota invited him to become a member of staff of the school, teaching mathematics, English, and Latin. Mind you, in those days, it was teaching Latin, and this young man did the same thing at Achimota School. In 1937, just before the knowledge of the Second World War came to our shores, the young man decided to become a soldier. So he was teaching, and at the same time, twice a week, he was going to the Accra military training camp. He did so well over there, and during the recruitment, the British were using this system called indirect rule to rule us. That's where I should start from. The British, unlike the French, never came down to the people to rule them as the French did in the assimilation policy. Our system was indirect rule. So during the war, it became extremely difficult for the British to go down to recruit soldiers. So they had to lie to the man called Adolf Hitler, who has started in Europe, is coming to Africa, and then he will take all your lands in Ghana and give to people that he would, unless you would help us to conscript volunteers to go and fight against him. And so the people, our chiefs quickly mobilized troops. And Gold Coast at that time, with the population of less than 4 million, were able to contribute as many as 65,000 soldiers to fight for the British. And as Providence would have it, because the soldiers were all stuck illiterate, and they needed people with local knowledge, local language to train them. And that was where Major Anthony excelled. He didn't start as a Major Anthony, no. He was just an ordinary staff member of the army. But because he did so well, he was to become a sergeant and led the 81st Force, 81st Division of the Royal West Africa Frontier Force, and won a very big battle in the city called Moyong in the country Burma against the Japanese. And so with the Japanese fallen in Burma, the King of England recognized him, and he was made a member of the most excellent order of the British Empire, MBE. And he was the first African in the military division to have received that. And I believe the entire divisions, both civil and military. Now, because he was so good, he was the one who gave the British an in-depth training into guerrilla warfare, because guerrilla warfare is to do more with forest fighting. He, as an African, knew that more than the British, who introduced the subject, and they paid glamorous tribute to him for that. Unfortunately, when it became time for him to enter Sandhurst, Britain's most prestigious military training institute, the British Prime Minister during the war, Winston Churchill, has sent a message that black people should be discouraged from becoming officers. And I believe at that time it was right. It was a matter of common sense. Because the moment you become an officer, you will have to give instructions not only to black soldiers, but to whites. And the whites would not take it. And this will affect their fortunes in the war. So what they did was to consciously give unreasonable punishment to this young man. But apart from being a brilliant scholar, and being a brilliant scholar, let me say that in 1929, this man, even in elementary school, won the Empire Day essay competition, the whole Gold Coast, long before he became what I'm talking about. So he was exceptionally brilliant. And this time, added to his academic excellence, was a matter of endurance. That with all that they did to him, sometimes snow, in the open snow, they will ask him to go and clean. Asking an African to go into the snow to clean it when white people were inside. He did everything, and eventually he moved from second lieutenant and straight to the position of a major. If it had been today, he would have been a field marshal. And this man was able to fight alongside the famous British field marshal, Montgomery. And after the war, he was heavily decorated, and he drove in an open car with Montgomery, both in London and on the Gold Coast. We are also told that when the war, well, let's talk about how he was humbled, that in South Africa, as a commander, various pubs and beer bars and social places they visited at soldiers, anytime it got to his turn, they told him, sorry, black people are not allowed here. And he would just keep quiet. And then anytime he had to sit with his colleagues, white officers, they would all shun him. And so he was never a happy person as an officer. At the same time, in the army, there was no way you could fraternize with the other ranks. It was against the law. And then even the other ranks also felt that he was a traitor, a sellout. So as an army officer, he wasn't a happy man, but his single-minded purpose was always to excel, which he did. No wonder he became an MBE, and then no wonder he was also ordered, given the accolade as a member of the Star of Burma. And so today, Ghana has got Burma Camp, and it was because of our exploits in Burma. So remember Major Anthony for that. And we have Moyon Barracks in Takoradi. Remember Major Anthony for that. After the war, he was appointed as a member of the British Foreign Service. He also became a district commissioner, a position held by only white people. And there were only 3 black people who held that position. He himself, Buzia, Professor K. Buzia, and another person. Then, when Ghana became independent, he became the chargé d'affaires of Ghana's embassy in Washington. And it is on record that when Ghana was received into the United Nations Organization as the first black African country, it was Major Anthony who responded at the UN General Assembly to the invitation on behalf of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He subsequently became Ghana's ambassador to the US, High Commissioner to India, and High Commissioner to Canada. Now back home on retirement after 1973, as a very quiet person living in Accra, the government of Ghana also recognized him. In 2006, President Kufuor honored him as one of the most influential Ghanaians who ever lived. And just 4 months before he died, the British people remembered the good things he did for them and sent the son of Field Marshal Montgomery to present an honor to him. To summarize the life of Major Anthony, we say that his life was a celebrated one of excellence, self-discipline, and endurance. And I believe that if we would all emulate that, this country, and for that matter, our continent, will be the beneficiary. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now you know more about Major Seth Kobla Anthony,
Yes.
Who did so much. And it's great to know that when you pass through Takoradi and you see the Mayong Barracks, now I know that it was named because of his exploits in Burma. And even the Jungle Warfare School at Achiansey is named after him. It's the Seth Anthony Barracks, named after Major Seth Kobla Anthony. Good history there for you to he was also High Commissioner to the UK for Ghana,
Canada, India, and then India, and then US.
And the USA. Yeah. Fantastic. So a soldier and a diplomat, an officer and a gentleman, Anthony of Adafianu, Ghana, and of Africa as well. And thank you so much, Mr. Frimpong, for averting our minds to this rich history. WhatsApp number 055-556-1034. Inspirational words right here on GTV Breakfast, and also an appeal for a fire tax on this show.
It's great, except that it shouldn't be a tax for us.
They should buy it.
Yeah, the Ghana Air Force, they've got planes, and they should know that one of their helicopters should be designed for firefighting
purposes.
And not just one. I believe every region should have one by now.
Exactly.
Every region.
To take care of turbulence.
Yeah, it shouldn't be for us to pay, except that this is a man who speaks partly for government at all times. So I believe it's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Your news headlines, let me give you a couple of them today. The Finder leads with President Akufo-Addo approving the NHIA free elderly care. All people will not have to be paying as far as health insurance is concerned. Dr. J.B. Dankwa's legacy on constitutional growth and development continues, says the Finder. Let's avoid further strain on the economy. Oforiatta rallies all bondholders to join DDEP. Ghanaian Times. Ghana President extending Ghana's condolences to Turkey and Syria following the earthquake. Ghanaian Times, of course, reporting yesterday that Christian Atsu was trapped under the rubble after the Turkey earthquake, but we do know that he's been pulled out alive. And there's a consensus needed for economic progress, says upon Nkrumah to the clergy. Daily Graphic leads with provide opportunities for growing population. Former President Obasanjo to African leaders. New property rate rollout. GRA MMDA's target 1.77 billion CDs. Illegal miners block Birim River. Can you imagine? Destroying hectares of farmland. So they'll get all the gold, but there'll be no food. how sensible is this? You know? And then the DDEP, Domestic Debt Exchange Program, ends today. Debt exchange will bring economic stability, says the finance minister. He spoke yesterday. We want to give you excerpts of his address on this particular issue. I'll get some comments from my guests, and then we'll get your views as well. You're watching GTV Breakfast. Let's cut to the finance minister as he made an address yesterday.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On Monday, 5th December 2022, government launched the Domestic Debt Exchange Program as part of a broader response to recent macroeconomic challenges. At that time, we indicated that the debt exchange program had been informed by the debt sustainability analysis, which revealed that Ghana's public debt had become unsustainable and that debt servicing accounted for more than half of total government revenues and almost 70% of tax revenues, while total public debt stock, including that of state-owned enterprises and statutory funds, exceeded 100% of our GDP. The essence of the debt exchange, we indicated, was to help restore our capacity to service our debt and meet other expenditure obligations. I must say, all these essential considerations have not changed. Indeed, they are even more pressing today. Prior to this launch in November 2022, I presented the broad contours of the economic and financial landscape and the necessary response measures as part of the 2023 budget statement and economic policy. Since then, three significant developments have occurred to pave our path to economic recovery. First, Parliament, after sustained engagements, judiciously passed the 2023 budget, paving the way for the implementation of key revenue enhancements and expenditure consolidating measures. Two, government over the past several months aggressively pursued revenue enhancement and expenditure rationalization measures towards facilitating macroeconomic stability. Three, the Ministry of Finance worked assiduously with all stakeholders to reach a staff-level agreement on the IMF program in record time. The Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana worked assiduously with all stakeholders to reach a staff-level agreement on the IMF program in record time. The IMF program is broadly aimed at assisting government to restore macroeconomic stability with a strong focus on protecting the most vulnerable in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, undergirding the budget and the SLA was the Domestic Debt Exchange Program. Our strategy has been to work diligently and with urgency to restore macroeconomic stability, including bringing down inflation and stabilizing the city. These are necessary measures to protect businesses and restore the purchasing power of Ghanaians within the shortest possible time. It was our expectation that collectively we would have concluded the Domestic Debt Exchange Program by end January to anchor our effort to alleviate the debt burden in the most transparent, efficient, and sustainable manner. However, we admit that there were legitimate and critical concerns which needed deeper and broader consultations. The requisite effort to address them have resulted in improved terms and changes in the closing date, with a final deadline of tomorrow. Tomorrow, Tuesday, 7 February 2023, is the final deadline for institutions and individuals to sign up to Ghana's Domestic Debt Exchange Program. As a listening government, we have engaged all stakeholders on a daily basis, sometimes even deep into the night. The governor and I and our teams are all thankful to the Ghana Association of Banks, the Ghana Insurance Association, the Ghana Securities Industry Association, the Individual Bondholders Forum, the Pensioners Bondholders Forum for their interests, insights, and goodwill. Today, to provide an update of where we are and to, once again, encourage the full support of all individuals and institutional bondholders. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in December 2022, we invited all holders of Ghana's bonds to volunteer to exchange their holdings for new bonds whose terms are compatible with our desired downward debt trajectory. This invitation was within the context that for Ghana to reach the required debt sustainability threshold of debt to GDP of 55%, it was important to review the interest rates and maturities of the existing bonds. Having listened to and acknowledged emerging concerns, we have recalibrated the framework of the DDEP with the following constituting the terms of the improved and enhanced offer. 1. All individuals who are below the age of 59 years, category A, are being offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and a 10% coupon rate. 2. All retirees, including those retiring in 2023, category A, are being offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and a 15% coupon rate. All retirees, including those retiring in 2023, category B, are being offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and a 15% coupon rate. The objective of this is to ensure that individuals, especially retirees who put their hard-earned savings in our domestic market, are not left in hardship as a result of the DDEP and yet contribute to the resolution of our current crisis. We have been intentional.
So that was the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, speaking about the debt exchange program. He says a lukewarm acceptance or non-participation in the DDEP by domestic investors will have a catastrophic effect on the current economic recovery programs. And he says these are difficult times, no doubt, but if we hold on together, we can and will emerge from this more resilient and united than before. So, Frimpong, what's your mind on what he's saying?
On my mind, you know, I heard him say that this is a listening government. If they are really listening, then they should listen to a lot of people that are clamoring for a national economic forum to deliberate on this matter. In fact, for me, I see it as a national crisis. It is a big disaster. You know, I don't think it is prudent, wise in any manner to touch pensioners' money. I don't think it is proper for the state to borrow, to even borrow from its citizens. You know, the accounts have a saying that you know, if you marry somebody's daughter, it is an honor to yourself that once in a while you give something to your mother-in-law. If you are not able to do that, nobody will punish you. But don't go to the extent of stealing from this. You know, and it is exactly what this government is doing to us.
Who are the mothers-in-law now? We are the mothers-in-law.
Bank of Ghana is number one, the people of Ghana, and especially the pensioners. And then as a listening government, and on a very, very, very much more serious note, the previous, in fact, the first NPP government, when it found itself in such a mess, found a way of declaring what we called highly indebted poor country. You know, the one who led it all, the Messiah, is still alive and is still a member, a leading member of their party.
President Kufuor.
J.A. Kufuor, he's still there. So please, it's not difficult, it's not too far away to engage this man, sit down with him and see how best the second MPP administration will do about the matter. But doing this debt exchange, and I believe it's not going to help. Again, I've said it on several platforms that our mothers and grandmothers, fathers and grandfathers, they were able to take care of us in school up to university and even beyond, based on something very small, a small technique. You see, they never went to anybody for a loan. They realized that the only asset they had was the common family land over there. So they will start planting cassava, maize, yam, rice, plantain, banana, count them. And then with this, just after, God too is so gracious that the moment you put any foodstuff underground, in between a matter of 3 months and 5 months, you start reaping. And we use this money to pay our school fees. Then ultimately, they will start using part of it to plant cocoa, palm plantation, and others. And then we began having rich people in the villages putting up houses, not because they credited money from the bank. They didn't know anything. In any case, which banks were in the rural areas in those days. So today, if we could move ahead as a country, we should do exactly what countries like Korea, India, China, Russia did. They were not industrialized from the beginning, but they tilled the land. They just tilled the land. China was the world's leading producer of rice, exporting rice everywhere. Then industrialization came in. God has blessed Ghana with plenty arable lands. Sometimes I hear people saying, God is telling you that this is land capable of growing what? Rice. And because you are lazy, because you are not thinking, you think that God hasn't blessed us enough. You understand? So please, I would wish that this government would just send all of us, national service people everywhere, from the south to the extreme north, to do some farming. And I tell you, you wouldn't need a loan to start farming, because you just negotiate with any of these advanced countries as to what they want. Is it granite you want? Is it tomatoes you want? Is it cocoa? Whatever you want, we give us the tools, tractors, combine harvesters, and then fertilizers, and we can assure you that in less than 6 months, we'll start paying our debt. After that, the machines remain your property. And Ivory Coast is even doing that. Ivory Coast is a #1 farming country. And I can assure you that for the past 20 years, prices of goods have not moved an inch in Ivory Coast. And we are a sister country. So I wish that the government, as a listening government, will listen to all of us. No national, cathedral. No. You don't need a national cathedral. You don't need Council of State. All this money push into agric, and then it will create jobs for everybody. But this amount of $3 billion, which they are going for, which has brought about this debt exchange thing, the sad aspect of it is that it is not money that is going to be invested. It is only to fix balance of payment. That is all. So our economy always becomes a consuming economy. Our economy under the NPP government is not an investing economy. And that is very dangerous, because it makes us not have any future. And my final words, to quote President Akufo-Addo's own words, when in the Mahama administration, Mahama lamented that the economy was broke, I remember his very beautiful language, which was captured in most newspapers. If the economy is broke, fix it. This is exactly the words of Nana Akufo-Addo. So if the economy is broke today, please fix it. Don't go to pensioners. Don't go to Bank of Ghana for it to print more CDs for you. Don't go anywhere. Nana Akufo-Addo, you have the means, you have the men. Fix the economy. And I believe that with the able of assistance of President Kufuor, who led us to HIPIC, you can do the same, if not more.
Thank you. And before I bring in Professor Bruce, you were talking about agriculture. We have plenty for food and jobs.
Please, planting for food and job is completely false. It's a lie. where are the what do you call it, the farms? We don't have them anywhere. It's not true. It's not true. And government must be realistic. You see, those days when we had Agricultural Development Corporation, ADC farms, you go everywhere and you see the farms everywhere, and you see the farms real, and people get up in the morning and they go to farm and work. At the end of the month, they are paid under the Ministry of Agriculture. Planting for food and jobs, we don't have anything like that in the country. And to prove that we don't have anything like that in the country, the former Minister for Agriculture, is it Akoto say, when he realized that there was a serious food shortage in Accra, went to the rural areas to purchase foodstuffs to sell in Accra. Why didn't he go to the Planting for Food and Jobs farms if the farms were there? It's not true. We don't have anything like that. We are only deceiving. It's not that the government is. We are deceiving ourselves. And I would have wished that some of you journalists would take it upon yourselves to go around everywhere in the country, sifting out where the farms are. And then one district, one factory, where those factories are. Because every now and then they tell us about this, and they don't exist. Please, they don't exist.
Well, I'm looking at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture's website, and they're talking about why you should join PFJ, Planting for Food and Jobs. It will increase. It's a government campaign which is helping to increase food production, promote farming as a noble, profitable business, change the attitude of the youth towards agriculture, reduce food imports and increase exports, create jobs.
So you are also a Ghanaian. What have you seen? Apart from the pickups they have got running everywhere in Accra, with the inscription Planting for Food and Jobs, apart from these things, have you seen any foodstuffs the pickups are carrying? Or truckloads of food? Have you seen that?
We will
No, you should answer my question.
No, I say we will bring in the ambassador for Food and Jobs, Dr. Akoto. I think he wants to be president.
If you bring him, because Ghana is so big, he would, I don't want to say he would lie, but he will have an excuse.
No, we'll have our people also on the
ground.
There, yes,
when you have your man, when you go there, then you tell him that I am a Bono region. So tell me where the farm is so that I can visit it.
That's exactly what we'll be doing.
Very good.
We'll
I'm in
the
Ashanti region. I'm in the Western region.
Yeah.
And then he will pinpoint to you where exactly the farms are located.
Right.
When you do that, it will help the whole country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yao Nochefrimpong Esquire, giving us some production consultation when we do bring in the former Minister for Agriculture to come and speak to us about his achievements. Professor Bruce, so you had the Finance Minister speaking about our debt exchange, say it will bring economic stability. He's asking us to participate, otherwise it will only prolong the current economic crisis in which we find ourselves. If we hold on together, we can and will emerge from this as a more resilient and united nation. What's your view?
Good talk. So sweet. My question is it a sin for Ghanaians to invest their money? The way he's talking, as if they are coming to help the individual bondholders, as if saving that money or investing that money was a crime or an error, and government is coming. If you don't engage you in this DAP, we can't stabilize the Ghanaian economy. They should tell us the money that they borrowed. What things did they use that money for which Ghanaians we have to see that the money that they borrow, they use it to do A, B, C, D for us. Let's look at the side. And it's because of you people, we have borrowed the money using Parliament. Because they approved all the loans that were going to Parliament. They are also part of this.
They are opening today. What was your message for them?
This time it's not a partisan matter again. Now it is Ghana. Whether you are the majority or the minority, when the issue comes, let's think about Ghana. No, go and borrow. Look at where we are now. They are the cause of this. And he is saying that Ghanaians are to be helped so that our economy can be stabilized. Yes, the parliamentarians, they represent the Ghanaians. And when they supported that, okay, go and borrow, they were not thinking this will be the effect. They were not thinking this will be the effect. There are some people, they suffer for what we call cognitive impulsivity. They don't think about the consequences of what they are going to do. Because there's a free money, were they not thinking that the money we are going for is too much?
Cognitive impulsivity.
Yes.
That is when you do things without thinking.
Without thinking about the consequence. Only for it. Oh, sorry. You have done it already. That is what is happening now.
How would you say this in ever? Cognitive impulsivity. Ameke,
one more buatamo.
it does things without thinking.
Yeah.
How do you say it in Tree?
We are there, won't be
Do things without thinking.
Yeah.
Cognitive impulsivity.
Cognitive impulsivity and also behavior impulsivity. It is not time for you. Oh, teacher, give me the meanwhile.
You don't know Foko.
You don't know Foucault. Then you say, oh, I'm sorry, you have acted already.
So that
That is our
behavior impulsivity.
and cognitive impulsivity. If you have people like that, if you have people like that, they will cause you trouble all the time.
How do you cure behavior and cognitive impulsivity?
You don't give them the opportunity to man positions that will lead you into this kind of thing that we are seeing them. You don't give them opportunity because when you give them this water, don't drink it before they have drank it. Then they say you are sorry.
They say it's sweet.
It's sweet. If you have those people, they will always push you into trouble because they will act before they I should do this.
But I did it.
But I did it. They has caused the harm already. No, they don't. No, it's a serious mental.
It's a mental health issue.
Yeah, it's a mental issue.
Behavior impulsivity.
Yeah,
and
just like
cognitive-
the fire thing I was talking about. There's something in psychology you call impulse control disorder.
Okay.
Impulse control disorder.
Bring it down for me.
And then you see, there are some people who we call pyromanics. They suffer from what we call pyromania. Just like the cognitive impulsivity people,
Yes.
they just like setting fire to things and go sit back and enjoy seeing people fighting fire. That is their joy.
So they
But
intentionally
as-
create a fire.
They will intentional, and it's also a cognitive impulsive behavior. You see the point now? Those who are suffering from pyromania, these market fires, they are behind it. They are just under big impulse to set fire, and then they go and see that fighters are going. That's all their joy. So somebody can just go and borrow money, whether he use it nicely or not. He has created a problem for you now. And look at how our finance minister is talking. He loves quoting the Bible. Meanwhile, the same Bible says, "Thou shalt not create unnecessary burden for thy neighbor."
Source.
Is it in the Bible?
I'm just summarizing.
I wanted to know the verse, so I'll go for it.
Rather, it is, thou shalt not steal. That one
Thou
is
shalt
very
not
clear.
steal also is there. What have the Ghanaian individual bondholders done wrong for them to suffer this? I think the parliamentarians, they must come and pay for these things because they approve the payment of the borrowing of all these loans.
So Parliament is to be blamed.
Parliament is to be blamed.
You agree?
They are the cause of all these problems we are going through now. It has been like that. Our majority is to support an activity, whether it will be in the interest of Ghana or not.
But this time the majority is not even that much. It's just one.
That is why we are seeing some kind of stability. If it were the other way around, we have gone for more loans. Some decisions will be taken. There is no way. Look at the VAT, and then the mobile tax money.
Mumu.
Momo. Is it wrong for you to have money on your own mobile money?
Yeah, the e-levy.
Your salary, which has been taxed already, now you decide to put it on Momo, so that at least once in a while you can send something to somebody somewhere. That's what we are going to tax it. How reasonable is this? We have said this. Look at what happened in Parliament. Somebody will have to become a referee and a participant at the same time.
As a psychologist, what is your diagnosis right now?
I think we are suffering from the disease of personal integrity, and we don't respect the concept of dignity anymore.
What's the cure? What if you were to write a prescription? What would you be writing on that
They
prescription?
need to be taken through assertiveness training
How would that work out?
and cognitive rehearsal. What I'm going to do, if I say this way, will the people like it? If they don't like it, how do I polish it? Just like choirs, they go to choir practice before they come and sing. You must also go in for cognitive rehearsal. When I say this, will the people accept it? Most of them are suffering from that. They will come and say something, then later on it creates fire and they are trying to dodge it. You are talking out of emotion. Well, if you have gone to cognitive rehearsal, you will have said that if I said this, people are not going to like it. And it will make me more and more unpopular. And I'm not achieve my aim. So we to take them to cognitive rehearsal, behavior modification, and also they must watch their personal integrity and obey the rules of dignity. Otherwise, they don't care no more about who they are. And such people, when they get to that level, this is where they will lead you to.
You're making me want to go and study psychology because
you are wanted.
The concept is so wanted, Professor Bruce. Oh, you're making it so exciting. Well, thank you so much for your thoughts. We'll go for messages briefly, but just something that the president has approved: free elderly care policy. So, what is going to be happening is that. It will cover 95% of the disease conditions recorded in, let me see, So there's a guarantee of mandatory 30-day waiting period and exemption from the premium and processing fees payment as a member of the scheme. And so this is going to be dealing with people who are 70 and above, okay? So 70 and above, providing older people with care. And for those aged 70 years and you are supposed to sign up for the NHIS or renew your membership process with a processing fee of only 8 cedis for registration, 5 cedis for renewal, and then you get your things taken care of if you are 70 and above. None of you qualify, but
so it means that you are still being charged in order for you to be processed.
Yes.
Yes, because 8 cedis is still money.
For new, and then 5 for renewal.
When that person, maybe his bond has been taken away from him, government has taken his money, and then you want more money from him before you give him free healthcare.
You don't understand it. Doesn't make sense.
No, I believe that this is something that is not going to help anybody, and you don't need to talk about it. Ghana has got NHIS. We contribute, and then you go to hospital free. That is all. So there is no need to come and then talk about this. And my worry is, if you are to pay before you are registered, then it's not different from the NHIS that is already there. No, it's not different from it. Assuming you are telling us that from the age of 70, you are completely exempted from NHIS, and that doctors and nurses to come to your house to treat you, periodically, then it would have been a new story. But this one is never, substantially, it's not anything new.
Bruce,
and then with what Prof. Bruce was saying,
yes.
If I should comment on that, you see, during the First Republic, Nkrumah was organizing such trainings for his ministers.
Assertiveness training and all that stuff.
And at that time, people thought because they were not well educated, was giving them such training. And that was why we also had this Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute, so that they will go and learn about the African personality, that the African does not have to cheat his neighbor, the African. You are no more working for the colonial whoever. You are working for yourself. So what this man is saying is not you have to go to it. Today, we believe that we have to eschew because our ministers have got masters and PhDs. We don't know that. Rather, when it comes to dignity, you understand, dignity and honesty, we are far, far, far behind a lot of people. Go to this area near Dansoman. There's an area called Odoko Buzia. Professor K.A. Buzia, a whole prime minister of Ghana. And before he became a prime minister, he was already a professor, having lectured in several universities, including Oxford. Look at where he built a very simple house for himself. Champon has not even got a house. We don't find a free first house here. Kwame Nkrumah never had one. And today, ask yourself about what is going on. So we only have to look back and see that the past was not bad. They were far better lettered than us. So Professor is right.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Yeah.
Should I go for my messages now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thelma.
Hello,
Prof. Thelma.
Hey.
Yes, go ahead.
You are preempting.
Yes,
F1
something is going to come for you. Yes.
So these are messages, and it's on our WhatsApp platform 05555610034. These are the thoughts of those who are sending the messages to us. So, be me talking, basically. Fire tax. How the plenty taxes, the plenty taxes they are talking about, what is being done with it, please? You should talk about utilizing our taxes collected to build our nation. Here's more support for the fire tax And he's saying, yes, modern Ghana and the helicopters, so we don't have helicopters to fight fires in this country, so he's supporting the idea of a fire tax. Aaron Babakuko Komisa is also joining the screen. The government, concerned pressure groups and respected traditional leaders have been joining forces to fight illegal mining. But yet still, we keep receiving reports on Galamsey, which stand to reason that our laws concerning illegal mining are not fully interpreted or fully enforced. Lottie Jones from Esium joins. Baumia told us that gold for oil was to reduce a liter of fuel to 8 Ghana cedis. Now, NPA says it's only in March that we can see reduced fuel under the gold for oil scheme. I don't support the move by government to include pensioners in this debt exchange program. Elsewhere, these elderly people are given monthly allowances by the government to support their livelihoods. Please spare them. Those are his thoughts. Robert joins and says he's for our brother Christian Achu. When I heard and read about the disaster yesterday, I prayed that God save this young man. After seeing the video of the collapse, fear dawned on me, but I was hopeful that our brother would be safe. Condolences to all who have lost their loved ones. Robert Power Center stays from Kofodia. I support this comment with 100 bags of love. So Kate from Tema. Good morning, the station of the nation. Great Anoche is a delight to listen to. I want to know if the company that benefited from our loans contracted is also contributing to the DDEP. Please spare the individual bondholders. The finance minister and his elder brother didn't listen when people were complaining about the level of borrowing. Now, here we are. Mahama Bakojo from Esium is talking about how having over 120 ministers and 1,000 presidential staffers gives birth to a drain on Ghana's public purse. Hence, advised that in the meantime, the government should drastically ameliorate the size of the ministers and presidential staffers to save our nation some amount of Ghana cedis. More messages on our WhatsApp number. Government should simply cut expenditure and she'll realize more than the 3 billion she's begging all over. Alhaji Dauda from Medina Estate. Good morning to two powerful panel, and thanks for the institutional memories, history of Major Anthony. Debbie is just fascinated with the concept of the cognitive impulsivity. But earlier on, she was talking about the prayers for Christian Achu, and she also commented on our discussion on FGM. She loves the history as well, and of course, the psychology also makes her very happy. Vincent says, good morning, BFS. Ken Ofori-Atta must leave, is what Vincent is saying. Mickey Darling, hi, BFS. Do you know that companies around the world are making billions of dollars annually from bioproducts of rice? There are experts to go into that. All Ghana needs, I think he wants to say, is a generational thinker to lead. Ken for president, a word to the wise. Michael from Asha Laja. Leviticus Powers from Kaswa. Condolences to the good people of Turkey and Syria for the loss of their nationals as a result of the quake. All Ghanaian citizens living in any of these countries need our prayers, especially Christian Achu. And he asked a critical question, Ghana, how prepared are we? More messages. Today is my first time of watching paper review on GTV. I'm amazed. Indeed, we should try to always listen to our leaders. You are late to the party, aren't you? But hey, come aboard anyway. You're almost 2 years behind schedule. But go on our Facebook platforms, GTV Ghana or Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and catch up. Okay, quickly. Gallop after us. Good morning, Cap. Yeah. We need more people. Prof. Anoche, Mr. BOT, Mr. Jantua, and yourself, King Cap, to redeem Ghana. I believe in you guys. God bless you. It's like they're sending you some coded message, please. So sending us hints to a place perhaps that we can keep an eye. We'll get our eyes working on that. Someone is back again, giving us ways of cutting expenditure. He's made a few suggestions. Reduce drastically government size, merge most ministries, thereby reducing ministers and so many deputies. Cut down on foreign travels, both the executive and ministers and deputies. Drastically cut domestic travel entourages. Shall come back for more. The man is not done talking yet. So he's warning us that 0.5, more to come. 2 more and then I vanish, or just one then. Good morning, Thelma. I support Mr. Anoche. The media should go around and look for the one district and the farms. Maybe that's what he means to say. So we have quite a bit of work to do, don't we, Cap? All right. If we are to follow this suggestion. But I'll hand it over back to you and the panel.
Thelma, thank you so much for the messages. And Thelma comes up in a short while to speak with journalist and social entrepreneur and the CEO of the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber, Mr. David Ampofo. the upstream sector as far as petroleum is concerned. That's a conversation you cannot afford to let your ears miss. Gentlemen, it's been great. It's a combination of academia, psychology, history, and law wrapped up in two people. And my word for the day is cognitive and behavioral impulsivity. And in Ever, it's what? He doesn't think before he works, or the person who doesn't think before doing things. All right, and in Chi, cognitive impulsivity. Chief Rupong is a historian and lawyer, and Professor Daniel Bruce is a lecturer and a clinical psychologist. Gentlemen, thank you so much. The headlines, wonderful. Still to come, we've got conversations on health and safety at work, and upstream petroleum matters coming up with David and Thelma. My name is Kafui Day. This is GTV Breakfast. Stay tuned.